The bridge of the Terran Alliance battle cruiser, Dauntless, hummed with activity as Captain Jared Briggs strode onto the command deck, his imposing figure commanding attention, his every action as precise as his purpose was clear. His piercing blue eyes scanned the crew pit below, ensuring every station was primed for combat. His gaze unwavering, his presence a reassuring reminder of the strength and leadership they had come to rely on. "Status report," he barked, his voice as sharp as his gaze was cold, taking his place in the central command chair, his body tensing with a mixture of anticipation and a dangerous calm. "All systems online and ready, sir." His EXO responded crisply, his voice as professional as his loyalty was complete. "We're holding strategic positions 8-9, awaiting your command." Briggs nodded curtly, his actions precise, his focus unwavering, his gaze locked on the main view screen. "Bring up the mission briefing on the main viewer." The massive screen flickered to life, displaying a revolving holographic emblem, a crimson talon clutching a planet, the symbol of the Galactic Federation they now opposed, their carefully constructed world now a symbol of their own tyranny. "Listen up, people." Briggs' voice carried through the bridge speakers, his tone as cold as his resolve was strong, his every word a call to arms, a testament to his unwavering commitment to his people. "For too long, we've allowed the Federation's aggression and arrogance to go unchecked. Their policy of forcibly boarding and seizing any vessel they deem unknown is a violation of sovereign rights." He paused, his eyes narrowing, a flash of anger igniting his gaze, his every word now charged with a mixture of passion and resentment, his desire for justice as powerful as his commitment to his people. "And when the Federation cruiser, Protector, tried pulling that on one of our scout ships, they paid the ultimate price for their hubris." A hush fell over the bridge crew, their actions as precise as their purpose was clear, their every movement as focused as their hearts were filled with a mixture of anger and a desire for retribution. The Protector incident had been the catalyst that finally ignited humanity's fury, the memory of their fallen comrades now a powerful motivator, a constant reminder of the price they had paid for their freedom, the brutality of the Federation's actions now a driving force behind their actions. "We hit them hard that day, and sent a clear message. Do not trifle with Earth's territories, or her people." His voice was a low rumble, a promise of vengeance that was as terrifying as it was powerful. His gaze unwavering, his resolve as hard as steel, his every word a call to action. But those arrogant bastards didn't listen. Briggs slammed a fist on the arm of his chair, his body tensing, his heart pounding with a mixture of rage and determination, his desire for justice now an all-consuming force. Instead of standing down, they chose to fortify this outpost. As a strategic stronghold, their power now a threat to the freedom and sovereignty that he held so dear, their carefully constructed world now a target for his wrath. The view screen shifted to display schematics of a heavily armored Federation station, its power now a challenge to his own, its presence a threat to the carefully constructed world he had vowed to protect. "Our mission is simple. Take that outpost by any means necessary, and make it clear to the Federation that this space now belongs to the Terran Alliance." Briggs rose from his chair, squaring his broad shoulders, his presence as commanding as his words were powerful, his every action now designed to instill his crew with a sense of purpose, to instill in their hearts the unwavering belief that they were fighting for something more than just territory. His gaze unwavering, his purpose clear, his resolve as strong as his heart was true. "But this is more than just some territorial pissing match, people," he said, his voice as powerful as his presence was commanding, his every word now charged with a mixture of passion and conviction, his call to action now a source of hope and inspiration for those who followed his command. "This is about restoring humanity's rightful place among the stars. For too long, we've been dismissed as upstart primitives by the alien powers that be." His voice took on a thunderous cadence, his body trembling with a mixture of rage and hope, his vision of a future where humanity would reign supreme now as clear as his determination to achieve that goal. "Well, those days are over. From this day forth, The Terran Alliance will be recognized as the preeminent force in this goddamn galaxy. A roar of approval shook the bridge, the crew's voices echoing his resolve. Their loyalty now as absolute as their desire to fight, their purpose now clear, their actions now driven by their belief in his vision, in the cause they were fighting for, the power of their unity as strong as their determination to overcome the challenges that lay ahead. Briggs allowed himself a feral grin, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of anticipation and rage. Weapons, get me a target lock on that outpost's primary generator. Let's give those aliens a taste of human firepower. The deck tilted slightly as the dauntless massive rail cannons swiveled into battery, their lethal power now poised to strike, their presence now a symbol of human might. On the view screen, targeting reticules zeroed in on the Federation station's glowing power core, a symbol of the oppression they had endured for too long. The target now in sight, the moment of retribution now at hand, their power now about to be unleashed with a force that would be felt across the stars. Fire at will, Briggs ordered, his voice as cold as his heart was hard, his gaze unwavering, his purpose clear, his every action now designed to ensure the utter and complete destruction of their enemies. His every word a command that would be obeyed without hesitation. Twin lances of superheated metal streaked from the dauntless forward batteries, slamming into the outpost shields with titanic force, the first strike in a brutal war that would change the course of history. The power of human might now unleashed with a fury that could shatter worlds. The Federation's defensive barriers flickered and died as successive volleys found their mark. Their technology as inadequate as their leadership was flawed, their carefully constructed defenses now dissolving under the weight of human firepower. Breach their reactor core, the captain commanded, his voice as cold as his heart, his gaze unwavering, his purpose as clear as his desire for revenge. His orders now a command to unleash an apocalypse upon their enemies, to show them the true meaning of human fury. I want that station a smoldering wreck by the time we're done here, as the Dauntless continued its merciless bombardment. His every action now designed to inflict as much damage as possible. Briggs felt a surge of vicious satisfaction, his heart pounding with a mixture of anger and triumph, his body trembling with the intensity of his rage. This was just the opening salvo. The Galactic Federation was about to learn a brutal lesson about the fury of an unstoppable human force. Their arrogance now about to be shattered by the reality of their true enemy. Their reign of terror now about to be brought to an end. Explosions rocked the Federation outpost, the carefully constructed structure now collapsing under the weight of the Terran assault. Their defenses as useless as their hopes were futile. As the Terran Alliance battle group poured withering fire into its crippled superstructure, the sounds of destruction echoing through the void, a testament to the power of human might. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Captain Briggs watched the conflagration with grim satisfaction. His face a mask of cold, calculated efficiency. His gaze as sharp as his mind was clear. His heart now unmoved by the carnage he had unleashed. His focus now solely on the task at hand. His purpose as clear as his resolve was strong. Status of the enemy station, he demanded, his voice low and dangerous, his every word as precise as his actions were deliberate. Their reactor containment has been breached. His tactical officer reported grimly, his voice as cold as his gaze was hard, the knowledge of their victory as chilling as the chaos surrounding them. Mass evacuations are underway, but they're taking heavy casualties. Briggs nodded curtly, his expression unchanged, his emotions tightly controlled, his heart as cold as ice, his every action now designed to ensure the complete and utter destruction of his enemies. Target their escape pods and launch bays, he ordered, his voice as flat as his tone was ruthless, his gaze unwavering, his every word a step closer to their annihilation. I don't want a single soul getting off that station alive. The crew tensed at the ruthless order. His words as cold as his heart was hard. His command now a test of their loyalty, a challenge to their every principle. His ruthlessness now a symbol of the brutality they faced. But none dared question it, their actions now a testament to their dedication. their obedience now as absolute as their commitment was to their leader, the knowledge of the atrocities they had suffered now a driving force behind their actions. They had all seen the aftermath of the Protector incident, the brutalized bodies of their shipmates strewn across the wreckage, their screams now forever etched into their memory, the Federation's cruelty now a driving force behind their thirst for revenge, their desire to see justice served now as strong as their need to protect their own. The Federation had struck first and paid dearly for it. Now it was the Terran's turn to deliver retribution, to unleash the full force of human fury, to show the universe the price of their betrayal. The dauntless, massive rail cannons swiveled with lethal precision, spitting hypervelocity rounds into the stream of fleeing escape pods. Their every shot a deadly blow, each destruction a testament to the force of their revenge, the cries of the dying as meaningless as the lives they had so brutally extinguished. Fiery blossoms erupted amidst the Federation craft as they were systematically obliterated, their carefully constructed lives now as empty as their broken promises, their arrogant confidence now reduced to nothing but a distant memory, their fate as cruel as their actions had been heartless. On the main viewer, the once formidable outpost burned like a funeral pyre, its superstructure crumbling under the relentless barrage, a symbol of the Federation's impending defeat, a testament to the power of human retribution, the once mighty structure now reduced to a smoldering ruin. Briggs watched the display with an impassive mask, his gaze unwavering, his heart now as cold as his face, his emotions tightly controlled, his inner turmoil hidden beneath a veneer of calm, his every action now driven by a desire for justice, a need to protect those he loved. Even as screams of the dying echoed over the calm channels, he remained unmoved, his gaze unwavering, his heart untouched by pity, his resolve as strong as his purpose was clear. "Cease fire," he finally ordered, his voice as cold as ice, his gaze fixed on the screen, the slaughter now complete, the bodies of his enemies now reduced to nothing but a collection of burning husks. Once the last escape pod had winked out of existence, his face remained expressionless, his soul as empty as his heart was cold, his desire for retribution now as complete as his commitment to his people was unwavering. Send in boarding parties to retrieve any salvageable technology and intelligence. His EXO looked up sharply, his gaze as hard as his tone was hesitant, his voice laced with a subtle mixture of disbelief and concern, his carefully constructed composure now threatened by the ruthlessness of his commander's request. "Sir, you want to search the wreckage?" "Of course," Briggs replied flatly, his voice as cold as his gaze was unwavering, his tone as sharp as his purpose was clear, his eyes like chips of ice, his heart unmoved by the horror he had just unleashed. "We can't let a single scrap of Federation data fall into the wrong hands, not after the price we paid to take this station." Memories of the Protector flashed through his mind, the images as vivid and as painful as the day they had occurred. The frantic screams, the sickening crunch of bodies being crushed by blastos, the smell of blood and burning metal. His people had fought like cornered wolves to survive that nightmare, their actions a testament to their determination, their lives a testament to their bravery. In the end, they had been forced to resort to the unthinkable to escape, detonating the Protector's warp core in a blinding flash of antimatter annihilation, an act of desperation to deny the Federation any chance of studying human technology, a last resort, a reminder of the desperation they had faced, a symbol of the lengths they would go to protect their freedom. Briggs' jaw tightened at the recollection, his every muscle tensing, his anger as powerful as his desire for justice. Never again would his people be caught unprepared by alien aggression, their freedom now his sole objective, his every action now designed to prevent a repeat of that brutal slaughter. This outpost would be scoured clean of anything that could give the Federation an advantage, their carefully constructed secrets now about to be exposed to the light, their power now to be stripped away by the hand of the very people they had sought to subjugate. "Make it happen, XO," he ordered, his voice as cold as his heart was hard, his gaze as sharp as his purpose was clear. I want that station stripped to the bulkheads by the time we're done here. As his crew scrambled to follow his commands, his every action a step towards the future, Briggs allowed his gaze to drift outwards, towards the inky vastness, the void between the stars, a reminder of the challenges they faced, the battles yet to come, the sacrifices still to be made. Somewhere out there, the Federation's core world spun, bloated, complacent, and utterly unprepared for the reckoning that was coming. Their careful world now as fragile as their confidence was strong. The carefully constructed empire they had built now about to face its final, inevitable defeat. A feral grin split his face, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of rage and satisfaction as he imagined those arrogant alien bastards reeling in shock and fear at the onslaught of human might, their power now about to be challenged by a force they had so readily underestimated. The carefully constructed order of the galaxy now about to be reshaped by the power of human will, the brutality of human vengeance. After centuries of being dismissed as a backward species, a race that was as insignificant as it was primitive, humanity would finally take its rightful place among the stars, their ascent now unstoppable, their power now as absolute as their resolve was strong. And the Terran Alliance would be leading the charge every step of the way, their every action a testament to their unwavering determination, their path to victory now as clear as their purpose was unwavering. The smoke had barely cleared from the smoldering ruins of the Federation outpost when Captain Briggs summoned his senior officers to the dauntless strategy room. His every move as precise as his purpose was clear, his every action now designed to prepare for the next battle, to ensure that the Terran Alliance would continue its relentless march towards freedom. Holographic maps flickered to life, displaying the Alliance's next objectives. A string of heavily fortified Federation colony worlds, each a symbol of their oppression, each a target for his vengeance. Their presence now a constant reminder of the tyranny they were determined to dismantle. The carefully constructed world of their enemy now about to be torn apart by the force of human might. Our decisive strike here sent shockwaves through the Federation's ranks, Briggs began, his voice as cold as his gaze was sharp, his words as deliberate as his purpose was clear, his every action now designed to inspire his officers, to ensure that they understood the gravity of the task ahead, the responsibility they carried on their shoulders. They can no longer dismiss humanity as a primitive upstart to be trifled with. We've proven our military might and technological superiority, he added, his gaze unwavering, his heart filled with a mixture of pride and determination, his words a reminder of the strength they had shown, of the sacrifices they had made, their every move now driven by a need to protect their freedom, to ensure a better future for their people, to carve out their destiny among the stars. Murmurs of pride rippled through the assembled officers, their gazes locked with his, their hearts pounding with a mixture of admiration and loyalty, their actions now driven by a shared belief in their leader, in the cause they were fighting for, in the promise of a future where humanity would finally be recognized as the preeminent force in the galaxy. Cracking the outpost's defenses had been a hard-fought victory, but one that showcased human tenacity and ingenuity, their actions now a testament to their strength and their courage, their determination now a driving force, their resolve as strong as their commitment to their purpose. However, Briggs continued, his voice lowering, his gaze hardening, his every word now designed to prepare them for the harsh realities of the war they were now waging. His tone as serious as his purpose was clear. We cannot allow this momentum to stall. Recon has identified these 3 colony worlds as critical military production hubs for the Federation. He pointed at the holomaps, his every action precise and controlled, his gaze locking with each of his officers individually, their futures now as dependent on their actions as their past had been shaped by the actions of their enemies. If we can cripple their ability to reinforce and rearm, it will go a long way towards bringing this conflict to a decisive conclusion in our favor. His EXO studied the holomaps intently, his actions as measured as his thoughts were clear, his gaze fixed on the strategic data, his every move designed to understand the challenges that lay before them, to ensure that their attacks would be as effective as they were ruthless. their every action now a testament to the strategic brilliance they had come to rely on. Their defensive arrays are formidable, but I believe we can punch through with a concerted attack, provided we coordinate our firepower and employ strategic target saturation, he said. His voice as calm as his resolve was strong, his understanding of military tactics as complete as his faith in his troops. Briggs nodded approvingly, his gaze unwavering, his voice as hard as steel, his every action now driven by the need for victory, his unwavering determination to protect humanity from the forces that sought to destroy them. Precisely. But we must also be prepared for the eventuality of civilian casualties, he said, his expression growing solemn, the weight of his command now as heavy as his responsibility, his humanity now a source of inner conflict, the decisions he was about to make now as profound as they were brutal. Unlike the Federation, we do not make a habit of subjugating and seizing the assets of sovereign species through force. Our aim is not conquest, but self-preservation. The words hung heavy in the air, his voice now as soft as it was resolute, his actions now driven by a desire to uphold the principles that had always guided his actions, even in the face of the overwhelming brutality of the war they had been forced to fight. His morality now a constant source of both comfort and pain. For too long, humanity had endured the Federation's policy of forcible technology seizures and strong-arm tactics, all under the guise of ensuring galactic peace. The hypocrisy of their enemies as blatant as it was infuriating, their actions as cruel as they were unforgiving. No more, he added, his voice as cold as his heart was hard, his every word as sharp as his purpose was clear, his actions now driven by a need to put an end to the Federation's oppressive reign, his desire for justice now as powerful as his resolve was strong. If civilian populations are caught in the crossfire as we dismantle the Federation's war machine, it will be an immense tragedy, he said gravely, his gaze sweeping across the room, locking with each of his officers individually, his every word now laced with a mixture of regret and determination. His actions now a testament to the heavy burden he carried on his shoulders, the weight of command a responsibility he bore with a stoic heart and an unwavering resolve. But one we must be prepared to accept as the harsh reality of the stand we are taking. He met each officer's gaze steadily, his heart heavy with the weight of their responsibility, his soul now as conflicted as his purpose was clear, his actions now driven by a need to protect his people, to carve out their own destiny amongst the stars, to build a future that was free from the oppression they had endured for so long. Our people have suffered long enough under the Federation's boot heel. This is our chance to secure the freedom and respect we deserve among the stars, to carve out our own destiny as masters of our own fate. A chorus of nods and murmurs answered him. The Terran officers were resolved, their idealism of protecting civilian life tempered by the cold pragmatism of waging an existential war, their actions now driven by a mixture of hope and determination, their every move now designed to achieve their ultimate goal. Very well, Briggs said finally, his voice as steady as his resolve, his actions as deliberate as his plan was clear. Prepare your crews and make ready to jump on my mark. We're going to hit these colonies hard and fast, before they can reinforce their defenses. The Federation's reign of injustice ends here. As his officers moved to carry out his orders, his every word as a testament to the resolve he held in his heart, his actions as precise as his calculations were swift, his plans as intricate as his vision was clear, Briggs turned his gaze outward, towards the distant glimmers of their next targets, their presence a constant reminder of the challenges ahead, their strategic importance now as clear as their destruction was inevitable. The colony worlds glittered defiantly in the distance, utterly unaware of the reckoning heading their way, their carefully constructed lives about to be transformed by a storm of human fury, their fate now sealed by the decisions that were about to be made, their future now hanging in the balance. There would likely be civilian casualties, innocent lives lost in the cosmic upheaval humanity was unleashing, a reminder of the cruel and unforgiving nature of war, a testament to the price they would have to pay for their freedom. But the alternative, meekly surrendering to the Federation's heavy-handed oppression for all eternity, was a fate far worse than any temporary tragedy. Humanity's freedom had to be bought with the currency of blood and fury, and the Terran Alliance would pay that price, without flinching, their actions now driven by a mixture of hope and despair, their resolve now as strong as their hearts were heavy, their journey towards a new future now as perilous as it was necessary. The Terran Alliance battle group dropped out of FTL like a lance piercing the void, their armored hulls gliding silently towards the first of the Federation colony worlds, a testament to their power and precision, their presence now a harbinger of destruction, their arrival now as sudden as it was inevitable. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Captain Briggs watched the tactical displays intently, his gaze unwavering, his purpose clear, his every action designed to ensure the success of his mission, his every decision now a matter of life and death, his leadership now as important as his skill and expertise. As his ships fanned out into attack formation, their movements as precise as their fire was lethal, his focus was on the task ahead, his determination now an unstoppable force. "Status of enemy defenses," he demanded, his voice low and dangerous, his gaze fixed on the screens, his heart pounding with anticipation, his actions now driven by the need to ensure their success. "Substantial, sir," his tactical officer reported grimly, his voice as cold as his gaze was unwavering, his every word now a testament to the seriousness of the task that lay before them. Long-range sensor sweeps are detecting multiple planetary shielding nodes and an array of heavy orbital gun batteries. Briggs' jaw tightened fractionally, his body tensing with a mixture of anticipation and determination, his hands clenching into fists, his every instinct now screaming for action. The Federation had clearly fortified these colonies in anticipation of potential conflicts, their careful planning now a direct challenge to his own, their defenses now a testament to their strength. But their defenses would not be enough to halt the Terran juggernaut, the power of human might now poised to strike, the forces of destruction now unleashed. "Concentrate all forward batteries on those shield generators," he ordered, his voice as sharp as his gaze was cold, his tone as precise as his commands were clear, his every action now designed to dismantle their defenses, to expose them to the full force of human firepower. "I want them cycled down before our first wave hits their defensive line. Kinetic bombardment teams, calculate simultaneous orbital trajectories and await my command to saturate those gun platforms." A tense silence fell over the bridge, the sounds of the ship as quiet as the tension was palpable. His crew now focused on the task at hand, their actions as precise as their purpose was clear, their every move designed to ensure the success of their carefully planned attack. As the dauntless gunners brought their fearsome rail cannon batteries online, the anticipation in the air was as thick as it was electric, their weapons now charged, their actions now poised to unleash hell, their desire for justice now as strong as their resolve to protect their people. Briggs could taste the metallic edge of anticipation as his crew prepared to unleash hell, their every action a testament to their skill, their every move a step towards their inevitable victory. Then, a single transmission interrupted the silence, a desperate plea that was as pathetic as it was futile, the voice a reminder of the fear that gripped their hearts, the desperation of the enemy now as clear as their own resolve was strong, their fate now in his hands. "Incoming broadcast from the colony, sir," his comms officer warned, his tone as cold as ice, his professionalism as unwavering as his heart was unmoved. "They're requesting we disengage and state our intentions immediately." The captain's lips peeled back in a wolfish grin, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of anticipation and rage, his every instinct screaming for retribution, his desire to strike now as strong as his purpose was clear. "Then by all means put them through. I'd be delighted to clarify our intentions." A Federation ambassador appeared on the main view screen, his alien features twisted in an arrogant sneer, his carefully constructed world now about to collapse before his eyes, the carefully constructed illusion of power and authority now about to crumble under the weight of human might. "Unidentified vessels," he said, his voice as sharp as his gaze was cold, his words laced with a mixture of contempt and desperation, his carefully constructed world now threatened by an undeniable force. You are encroaching on Sovereign Federation territory. Disengage immediately, or you will be fired upon. Briggs rose from his command chair, squaring his shoulders, his body trembling with a mixture of anger and determination, his every action a testament to the power he now wielded, his every word now designed to dismantle the Federation's arrogance, his resolve as strong as his heart was cold. He fixed the alien with an icy glare, his voice as cold as his gaze was hard, his tone as precise as his actions were ruthless, his heart unmoved by the hollow plea of his enemies, his purpose now clear, his desire for justice now as powerful as his commitment to his people. This is Captain Jared Briggs of the Terran Alliance battlecruiser Dauntless. We don't recognize your territorial claims over this system or its colonies, he said, his voice low and dangerous, his gaze unwavering, his words as sharp as a knife, his every sentence a step towards the utter and complete destruction of their enemy. The ambassador's sneer deepened, a mask for the fear that now threatened to overwhelm him, his carefully constructed charade now crumbling before the might of the human warrior, his words as empty as his threats were hollow. Then you are fools as well as primitives. This region has been under the authority and protection of the Galactic Federation for over 5 centuries. We will not allow some upstart race of violent simians to threaten what is rightfully ours. Enough with the squid face. Briggs cut him off with blistering contempt, his voice as harsh as his gaze was cold, his control slipping for just a moment, his heart pounding with a mixture of anger and disdain, his words a clear sign that he had no time for diplomacy, no patience for lies and deceit. Your authority over this region and its people is at an end. For too long, humanity has endured your oppressive policies and dismissive arrogance towards our ascendance as a spacefaring race. He stabbed an accusing finger at the view screen, his body tensing with a mixture of anger and resentment, his every action now a testament to his unwavering commitment to the principles of justice, to the freedom of his people. No more. The Terran Alliance has been forged to shatter your unjust dominion over the stars, starting with these colonies that you've been using as little more than resources to feed your war machine. The alien ambassador's eyes widened in shock and outrage, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air, his composure crumbling, his careful facade now completely shattered, the truth of their situation now finally beginning to sink in. You dare threaten the sovereign territory of the Federation? He sputtered, his voice trembling, his carefully constructed arrogance now replaced by a desperate fear, his power as diminished as his authority was hollow, his careful world now collapsing before the might of human will. Have you learned nothing from your previous transgressions? A feral grin split Briggs' face, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of anticipation and rage, his every word a challenge to the arrogance of his enemies, his actions now as brutal as his resolve was strong. Oh, we've learned plenty from our last encounter, alien, he said, his voice a low, dangerous purr. Specifically, that the Federation's military prowess is a hollow sham, barely covering its core of arrogance and frailty. He turned towards his weapons crews, his gaze unwavering, his purpose clear, his every word now in order, his every action now a step towards their ultimate victory. Target the shield generators and open fire. Let's show these bastards what real human firepower looks like. As the dauntless rail cannons thundered to life, unleashing a storm of superheated metal upon their targets, Briggs locked eyes with the sputtering ambassador, his heart pounding with a mixture of triumph and determination, his gaze like ice, his every action now driven by a need to protect his people, to ensure their freedom, to carve out their destiny among the stars. The age of human subjugation is over, he said, his voice as cold as his heart was hard, his words now as absolute as his purpose was clear. From this day forth, we choose our own destiny among the stars. As the brilliant lances of superheated metallic slugs lashed out from the Terran battle group, slamming into the colony world's orbital shielding with brutal force, the view screen filled with a cacophony of fire and destruction. His carefully constructed plan now reaching its inevitable conclusion, the carefully crafted world of the Federation now about to be torn apart by the power of human might. On the bridge of the Dauntless, the deck bucked and shuddered as the mighty railguns cycled through successive barrages. Their destructive force as powerful as their impact was devastating, the chaos now as terrifying as their destruction was absolute. The careful facade of power that the Federation had so carefully cultivated now dissolving into nothing but a pile of ashes, their lies and deceit now exposed for the emptiness they had always been. Deflector shields at 60% and falling, Briggs' tactical officer called out, his voice as steady as his focus was clear, his every move now designed to ensure the success of their attack, his loyalty to his captain now as strong as his professionalism was unwavering, his words now a testament to the power of human will. The Federation gunners are returning fire. As if on cue, the view screen flickered with incoming ordnance. Clouds of ballistic munitions and energy lances reaching out from the colony's defensive batteries. The Federation's counterattack a desperate attempt to stem the tide of destruction. Their efforts as futile as their cause was lost. Their power now as diminished as their fate was sealed. Briggs watched impassively as the Terran ship's point defense turrets burst into action, swatting down the retaliatory barrage with calculated precision. His every action now driven by the need for victory. His every thought now focused on the task at hand. His strategic brilliance now as apparent as his ruthlessness was complete. Our kinetic bombardment solutions are calculated and locked on, Captain, the weapons officer stated, his voice tight with barely contained excitement, his gaze fixed on his instruments, his every action now designed to ensure the complete and utter destruction of their enemies. Give the word, and we'll plaster those gun platforms into oblivion. Briggs was silent for a beat, his heart pounding in his chest. His gaze locked on the image of the Federation colony, the massive habitat domes and civilian population centers clearly visible amidst the military installations, the weight of the decisions he was about to make now bearing down upon him, the responsibility for the lives they were about to destroy now resting on his shoulders. This was the line they were about to cross, a step into a moral abyss, open warfare against the Federation's civilian-industrial complex, an action that would undoubtedly lead to widespread casualties and devastation, a grim reality that he had tried so hard to deny, a burden he now had to carry, a necessity in their struggle for freedom, but one that still carried a moral weight, the lives of the innocent civilians now in his hands, their fate now dependent on his decisions. His crew watched him intently, their faces filled with anticipation and doubt, awaiting the fateful order, their actions now a testament to their loyalty, their willingness to follow him into hell if that was what it took to secure their freedom. Briggs knew that whatever call he made, they would follow without hesitation, their bond now as strong as their belief in his leadership, his actions now driven by a desire to protect them, even as he led them into battle. Such was the bond of loyalty and trust between human warriors, a force that had carried them through countless conflicts, a connection that was now about to be tested in ways they could never have imagined. Decision made, his gaze hardened, his resolve now as strong as his heart was cold, his humanity now a burden that he had to bear, his purpose now as clear as his path was dark. He straightened in his command chair, his gaze unwavering, his body trembling with a mixture of fear and determination, his every action now designed to ensure the ultimate success of his mission, his carefully constructed world now about to be transformed by his choices. "Commence the bombardment," he ordered, his voice as flat as his tone was ruthless, his words like a death sentence, his soul as cold as ice. "Prioritize taking out those gun batteries, but don't be overly discriminating. Any target that threatens our ships is fair game from here on out." A chorus of "Aye, sir" echoed across the bridge, the Terran officers as ready as they were conflicted, their loyalty as unwavering as their hearts were heavy, their actions now a testament to the brutal realities of war, their every move now a step towards a victory that would forever change their place in the galaxy. As the dauntless main batteries thundered back to life, unleashing apocalyptic destruction down upon the colony world. The force of human fury now an undeniable reality. Briggs allowed his expression to harden into a mask of merciless determination. His face devoid of emotion, his body tense, his heart as cold as ice. There would be sacrifices and tragedy along the way, their path as painful as it was necessary, their victory bought at the cost of innocent lives. The memories of the devastation they had unleashed now as potent as the love they carried in their hearts. But the path to humanity's liberation among the stars would be paved in the fires of their fury, their actions a testament to their determination, their unwavering commitment to freedom, their desire to create a world free from the oppression they had endured, their journey towards a new and brighter future now as perilous as it was necessary. The age of human subjugation was over. The Terran Alliance had arrived to claim its destiny, in glory or ruin. Fiery contrails streaked across the colony world's atmosphere as the Terran bombardment tore into its surface, the sounds of destruction echoing across the planet, a reminder of the power of human will, the forces of destruction now tearing apart the very fabric of their enemies' lives, their every action as precise as their every thought was cold, their goal now within reach, their victory now as inevitable as it was absolute. On the bridge of the Dauntless, the view screens displayed a horrifying panorama of devastation, a chaotic landscape of smoke and fire. The carefully constructed world now reduced to a scene of carnage, their cities obliterated, manufacturing complexes reduced to smoldering craters, a testament to the power that humanity now wielded, the sheer force of their attack now an undeniable reality. Captain Briggs watched the destruction impassively, his expression a stony mask, his carefully constructed composure now hiding the turmoil that churned within him. His heart now a cold, empty space where empathy and compassion had once resided, his every action now driven by a mixture of grief and a need for justice. His soul as heavy as his purpose was clear. He had known this day would extract a heavy toll, had steeled himself for that grim reality. But seeing the scale of death and ruin they had unleashed was still a gut punch. The knowledge that their victory had come at such a high cost now a heavy burden on his soul. His every thought now a mixture of satisfaction and despair. These weren't just numbers on a casualty report or abstract collateral damage projections, the weight of their actions now as heavy as the bodies of the innocent they had destroyed. These had been living, breathing people, alien, but undoubtedly just as vibrant and hopeful as any human. Their lives now extinguished, their futures now lost forever, their suffering now a stain on his heart. Entire generations and cultures had been scoured from existence in the blink of an eye, their potential, their dreams, their carefully constructed lives now gone forever. Their loss now a chilling reminder of the devastation of war, of the brutal realities they faced, of the price they had to pay for their freedom. Their sacrifice now a testament to the cruel and unforgiving nature of conflict. For a moment, Briggs was gripped by the nearly overwhelming urge to call it all off, to order his ships to disengage, and find a way to make peace with the Federation. No matter how unpalatable the terms, his body trembling, his heart aching, his carefully constructed resolve now teetering on the edge of collapse. His desire for peace now as strong as his thirst for justice. His soul now as torn as his resolve was unwavering. Anything to stop this escalating spiral of violence before it consumed them all in a tide of atrocity, before they had become the very monsters they sought to destroy. Their actions now as brutal as their enemies had always been, their humanity now at risk of being lost forever. But just as quickly as the doubt surfaced, a moment of weakness that threatened to overwhelm him, he ruthlessly quashed it down, his every action now driven by a cold, calculated pragmatism. His desire to survive now stronger than his fear of the cost. His heart now as hard as his determination was complete. The Federation had brought this reckoning upon themselves through their hubris and injustice, their arrogance now a constant reminder of their oppressive rule, their every action now a testament to their cruelty, their complete and utter disregard for human life. Humanity would not be subjugated or denied its rightful place among the stars any longer. Their freedom now their only objective, their actions now as brutal as their desire to be free, their rebellion now as powerful as their strength. Their carefully constructed past now a guide for the future. Their path now as bloody as it was necessary. No, there could be no turning back, not after the lines they had crossed today, not after the sacrifices they had already made. Their commitment to the cause now as strong as their determination to see it through to the end. Their purpose now clear, their resolve now absolute, their victory now as inevitable as it was hard-fought. The Terran Alliance would press on, shattering the Federation's military might world by world, until their arrogant leaders had no choice but to capitulate, their careful world now about to be torn apart by the fury of human resolve. The carefully constructed power of the Zocs now finally about to be dismantled, their arrogance finally defeated, their rule finally at an end. Only then could a lasting peace finally be forged between their peoples, one built on mutual respect and the acknowledgement of human sovereignty, not oppressive dominion. A peace bought with blood and fury, a new order forged from the ashes of their old one, a future where humanity would finally be free. Squaring his shoulders, his gaze now fixed on the challenges that still lay ahead, Briggs turned his gaze outwards towards the distant glimmers of their next targets. The colony worlds now a reminder of the battles yet to be fought, the sacrifices still to be made, their journey now as long as it was necessary, their path now as perilous as it was predetermined. More tragedy and sacrifice undoubtedly awaited them on that path. The realities of war now a constant, unwelcome companion. The weight of command now a heavy burden on his soul. The knowledge of their impending losses now as sharp as his hope for a better future. A world free from oppression. A future that was as just as it was prosperous. But it was a necessity. The birth pangs of a new galactic order, where humanity would reign supreme as the preeminent force, an order paid for in the fires of their fury against those who would deny them. The weight of his decisions as heavy as the love he carried in his heart. Orbital defenses have been neutralized. His tactical officer reported, her voice tight, her tone as hard as her gaze, her earlier doubt now replaced by a grim determination to see their mission through. Their actions now a testament to her resolve. Their victories as hard-fought as they were necessary. We're no longer meeting any resistance from the surface. A small mercy, Briggs thought grimly. His heart as cold as his gaze was sharp. His mind clear. His purpose unwavering. His every action now designed to ensure the swift and efficient completion of his mission. His desire to protect his people now as strong as his need to see justice served. At least they wouldn't be compounding the civilian tragedy by having to grind through organized military opposition. A small act of mercy in the brutal war he had been forced to fight. His humanity as important to him now as his cold pragmatism. Commence ground operations, he ordered. His voice as hard as his actions were swift, his gaze unwavering, his every action a testament to his determination, to his refusal to surrender, to his commitment to see this war through to its inevitable conclusion. I want search and salvage teams to secure any intact data repositories and industrial assets. Leave no stone unturned. His EXO stepped forward. His face as hard as his gaze was unwavering. His every action a testament to his professionalism. His every word as precise as his questions were necessary. A muscle twitched in his jaw, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. His own carefully constructed composure threatening to collapse under the weight of the responsibility he carried. And the surviving population centers, sir? He asked. His voice as cold as it was cautious, the question as pointed as his gaze was sharp. His every action a test of the limits of human morality, a stark reminder of the ethical challenges they now faced. What are your orders regarding them? The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade, each word a chilling reminder of the lives that had been lost, the choices he had made, the consequences that he now had to bear. Briggs knew the ethical ramifications, the line they would be crossing if he gave the order to exterminate the colony's civilians, the weight of command as heavy as the blood he now carried on his hands, his humanity now a burden that he had to bear, his actions a constant reminder of the sacrifices they had been forced to make. But he also knew the brutal pragmatism required in total war, the hard choices that had to be made, the sacrifices that had to be endured to ensure the survival of his people. We will exercise restraint where we can, he said carefully, his voice low, his tone measured, his eyes as cold as his heart was hard. But his words were carefully chosen, designed to provide a measure of hope without sacrificing the goals he had come to achieve. But if any population centers actively resist our operations or attempt to retaliate, they are to be neutralized with maximum prejudice. He paused, his gaze sweeping across the room, his every move designed to ensure that his officers understood the gravity of their situation, the responsibility they carried on their shoulders, the brutality they would be forced to unleash, his every action a testament to the weight of command, the difficult choices he had to make, the terrible price of their freedom. The Federation's military-industrial capabilities are our primary objective here, he finished, his voice as cold as his purpose was clear. It was a calculated decision, one that would undoubtedly lead to further loss of life, his resolve now a shield against his own humanity, his actions now driven by a need to protect his people, to give them a better future, to ensure their freedom, no matter the cost. His soul now as scarred as his heart was heavy. But the alternative, of leaving an actively hostile population at their backs, was simply untenable, a choice that would condemn them all to a long and brutal war that would ultimately destroy everything they had fought for. His pragmatism now a tool to achieve their ultimate goal. The Terran Alliance could not afford to fight a two-front war. Make it so? Briggs stated flatly, his gaze unwavering, his voice as cold as his heart was hard, his actions now as swift as his purpose was clear. And prepare for our next target assault. I want to keep the Federation off balance, and hit them again before they can marshal a counterattack. As his crew hurried to carry out his orders, his every action now a step towards the future, his every decision now designed to ensure the ultimate victory of his people. The carefully constructed world he had known was now being rebuilt on a foundation of blood and fury. The cost of freedom now a heavy burden that they had all been forced to bear, the weight of command now pressing down upon his soul. The captain turned his gaze back to the nightmarish vista on the view screens. The once gleaming colony now transformed into a smoldering abattoir, its cities and industrial centers obliterated in an unholy firestorm, a testament to the destructive power that he had unleashed. The true cost of war now as apparent as his desire to protect his people was strong. Bile rose in Briggs' throat as the true scope of the massacre sank in, his carefully constructed composure threatening to collapse under the weight of the destruction he had wrought, the full weight of his actions now bearing down on his soul. He had known there would be civilian casualties, had steeled himself for that grim reality, the ethical ramifications of his decisions now as heavy as the burden he was forced to bear, his humanity now a source of conflict, his actions now as brutal as his soul was pure. But actually witnessing the extent of the carnage they had wrought was almost too much. His heart aching with the knowledge that the choices he had made had led to so much destruction. The carefully constructed world he had fought so hard to protect now stained with the blood of innocents. These weren't just numbers on a casualty report or abstract collateral damage projections. These had been living, breathing people, alien, but undoubtedly just as vibrant and hopeful as any human. Their lives now extinguished, their futures now lost forever, their hopes and dreams now reduced to nothing but ashes and dust. Entire generations and cultures had been scoured from existence in the blink of an eye, their potential, their hopes, their carefully constructed lives now gone forever, their sacrifice now a haunting reminder of the cost of war, of the brutality they had been forced to inflict upon those who had threatened their very existence. For a moment, Briggs was gripped by the nearly overwhelming urge to call it all off, his carefully constructed resolve finally collapsing, his body trembling with a mixture of grief and despair, his heart as heavy as his soul was torn, his every action a painful reminder of the heavy price he had been forced to pay, to order his ships to disengage and find a way to make peace with the Federation, no matter how unpalatable the terms, his carefully constructed purpose now wavering, his humanity now as strong as his heart was broken. Anything to stop this escalating spiral of violence before it consumed them all in a tide of atrocity, before they had become the very monsters they sought to destroy, their actions now as brutal as their enemies had always been, their carefully constructed world now threatened by the darkness that was now consuming it, their carefully protected humanity now as vulnerable as their future had become. But just as quickly as the doubt surfaced, a moment of weakness that threatened to overwhelm him, he ruthlessly quashed it down, his resolve hardening, his gaze as sharp as his purpose was clear, his heart now as cold as his actions were decisive. The Federation had brought this reckoning upon themselves through their hubris and injustice, their oppression of humanity now a driving force, their carefully constructed world now about to be torn apart by his actions. His determination to see them pay the price for their crimes now as strong as his desire to protect his people. Humanity would not be subjugated or denied its rightful place among the stars any longer, their freedom as their only objective, their actions now as brutal as they were necessary, their choice as cruel as it was unavoidable. No, there could be no turning back, not after the lines they had crossed today, not after the sacrifices they had already made, the blood they had shed, the lives they had destroyed, their actions now a testament to their determination, their unwavering commitment to their freedom, their purpose as clear as their path was dark, their every action now a step towards a future that was as uncertain as it was necessary. The Terran Alliance would press on, shattering the Federation's military might world by world, until their arrogant leaders had no choice but to capitulate, their carefully constructed world now crumbling beneath the weight of human fury, their carefully crafted lies now exposed for the emptiness they had always been, their arrogance finally defeated, their power now finally diminished. Only then could a lasting peace finally be forged between their peoples, one built on mutual respect and the acknowledgement of human sovereignty, not oppressive dominion. A peace bought with blood and fury, a new order forged from the ashes of their old one, a future where humanity would finally be free, a testament to their resilience, their strength, their refusal to surrender, their triumph now as inevitable as their journey had been arduous. Squaring his shoulders, his resolve hardened, his gaze as cold as his heart was heavy, his emotions tightly controlled, his purpose now clear, Briggs turned his gaze outward, towards the distant glimmers of their next targets, his mind racing with possibilities, his every action now designed to secure the freedom of his people. More tragedy and sacrifice undoubtedly awaited them on that path. The brutal realities of war now as constant as his determination was absolute. The weight of command now a heavy burden on his soul. His every decision a matter of life and death. His responsibility as great as his power. His hope for a brighter future now as strong as his knowledge of the sacrifices they would have to make. Their victory a distant hope in the face of the horror that was now consuming them all. Their journey towards a better world now paved with a road paved in the fires of their fury. Their fight now a testament to the power of human will. Their destiny now as clear as their resolve was strong. The age of human subjugation finally at an end. The Terran Alliance now on the path towards claiming its destiny, in glory or ruin.